Hey, what's up, everybody? It's BDF44 coming at you with another video. Okay, we are about 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours away from tip-off of Game 3 between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Denver Nuggets. And this is the Western Conference Finals we're talking about here. Everything is on the line. The series is 2-0 in the Laker favor, and we're looking to make it a 3-0 series. I expect a big game from Nikola Jokic. I do. I think he's going to have a really big game. I think he felt really confident that if it weren't for a botched defensive play, that this series would be tied, and that they would be able to get, the momentum going in their direction. And I expect him to play loose tonight as well. I expect him to be physical with AD. As we saw at the end of the game, he was able to get some success with his back against the basket. Against AD, so I expect him to try to exploit that opportunity and see if they can draw some fouls that way. And we're gonna have to come down from the natural high that shot provided us, and remember who we're playing against, what our focus is, and see this game as the most difficult game in any series. It's the game that brings the series back home to the other team who happens to be down. They dropped the 2 on the road, in theory, obviously because we're in the bubble here, but this is what the series looks like. I mean, okay, you took care of home court, now it's our turn. And that's how the Denver Nuggets are probably going to be looking at this. We dropped the first 2. The second one we thought we should have won. We're right here, despite this team being better than us. We've beaten everybody else who happened to be considered better than us. Why shouldn't we be able to come back into this series? So what we don't want to do as Lakers, if you're a Laker fan, you don't want to see them drop this game. This is an extremely important basketball game for this team because this is the comeback kids. They do have younger legs. They do have a lot of shooters. And we don't want this series to continue to drag out because they're going to continue to get better as the series progresses. They have already been playing tired, so fatigue is not something that I think we have to really consider with that team. They've been able to fight through that thus far, and it ain't, it's not something that they're going to have to worry about with their depth starting to form, having certain players coming back into the lineup and things of that nature. They're finding things. Now they're going into different parts of their bench and they're finding players. So we need to be very careful about just making sure we stay as focused as possible and trying to end this series early. So that's what I'm expecting. Adjustments will be made. And, Rondo is going to be key tonight in trying to keep that same intensity that he's had throughout the entire playoffs. I expect him to play well. KCP, Danny Green, Kyle Kuzma, they've all been playing better. Well, not Kuz, I ain't going to lie. Kuz has not played as well as I'd like to see him play in this series, but I expect that to change. He has a nice little head-to-head matchup with Michael Porter Jr. Got to be very careful to not allow those kids to make it about them. Had a little bit of that going on in the last game, so we're going to try to be mindful of that, and hopefully we can continue to be dominant. Anthony Davis is he's going crazy right now. I would love to see us try to get him more shots in that corner because he did hit those 2 in the clutch. That means that's a very, very comfortable spot for him, and it's no secret that we are still learning this player. We've only had him on our team for 1 season. And I think we're still discovering what all he can do, really. And a lot of what LeBron James does kind of takes away from seeing him at his highest usage and seeing just how dominant he can be at times. So his numbers have taken probably a dramatic hit on this team, and I still think there's some levels of comfort to go in terms of playing with LeBron James and playing with this roster that he can get to. We haven't seen the best Laker Anthony Davis, not by a long shot, in my opinion. So, maybe tonight we see that. At some point in time, he's going to remind us who he is. And what I mean by that is, this is a guy who can put up 57 points, 18 rebounds, 6 blocks, 5 assists, 3 steals. Like, he's capable of doing phenomenally great stuff. And like I said, his numbers have taken a hit. I think at some point in these playoffs, in this bubble, we're going to see 40-point plus Anthony Davis really hit home. He's been cruising. He's been really cruising, but this is somebody who can give you a phenomenal amount of production if he's just given the ball on every play. And that's something that we haven't seen a lot of, and we haven't need him to be. Same thing with LeBron James, obviously. They both are capable of doing more, and it's a great luxury to have both of them on this team. I think going forward, it is about those two at the end of the day. If we're going to win these games, it's not going to be as much about the role players. It's going to be about those two being dominant. But I do like what I've seen from our team as a whole, and as long as we continue to play like a team, obviously the guys love playing with one another. There shouldn't be anything in our way of winning a championship. Focus and humility is important. Focus. I saw a lot of fun going on the bench. I love that guys are having fun, but we don't want to cross the line between fun and folly. You know what I mean? And I mentioned that in the last video. I think the refs sent a message to us, sending a couple of technicals our way, and I'd like to see the Lakers come out just a bit more mindful of how they look over there, and just try not to give ourselves any extra attention that we don't need from these refs. You know what I mean? And not to rile up any extra energy into a guy like Jamal Murray, who's looking for opportunities to just go completely off. You know, we haven't seen the best Jamal Murray yet in this series either. So it's going to be interesting to see at what point do one of these two players between Anthony Davis and Jamal Murray just go flat loco and drop more than 50 points. I just expect something like that at some point. Especially with the Denver Nuggets seemingly playing for their playoff lives at this point. I think most people would agree if they lose tonight's game, they have absolutely no chance of winning the series. I think a lot of people believe that they already have absolutely no chance of winning the series. But if they were to win tonight's game, it would certainly help things for them, to say the least, as opposed to losing tonight's game and then being one away from, obviously, elimination. I want the Lakers to end this series early as a fan. I would like to see this thing end at 4. And I think if we win tonight's game, we got a good chance of doing that very thing. So be mindful of what we have to be mindful of. Pay attention to the youngsters that come off the bench. And there's a couple of them that are, capable guys that they have. So we need to be mindful of that. Gary Harris, Mason Plumlee. Mason Plumlee is going to have to play better. I mean, he has the task of going up against our bigs. He was embarrassed in the last game. I'm curious to see how he comes out tonight. Does he make any impact at all? Does he have a big game? Does he have an off night? I'm just going to be watching. Does he play as much? That's going to be interesting to see how the Coach Malone wants to handle that. And there was some talk around that the last play that went wrong on that was not his fault. That it was in fact Jeremy Grant who called for him to prepare for a screen before the ball was inbounded. So I don't know. That changes how I look at things. So, that play is in the past, obviously, and it didn't end the series for either team. But at the same time, it's just interesting to see how narratives can change when information comes your way. So if it was Jeremy Grant's fault, then he's the one that should be spoken about. Either way, that's a learning experience for a young team over there. They know what they have to do in regards to not letting anything like that happen again. And, every game has its own way to develop. So I'm pretty sure we won't get that same exact opportunity in this game. But if we do, I'm very confident that Anthony Davis will hit it again, because he is exactly that type of talent. And, man, are we lucky to have him. So anyway, yeah, my name is BDF44. I wish I could have gave you more in-depth analysis on what I think is coming. But right now, I have to get back in there and handle some other things. But I do appreciate you all tuning in, and I hope you all are having a great evening. Enjoy the game. BDF.